Welcome to the Love Language Leadership Summit. I am Shannon Wooten. With me today, I have three-time international award-winning life coach, speaker, published author, host of the Way Home Healing and Spiritual Retreat, leader of Awaken Her Soul and the Rising Sovereign programs. Thank you for being here, Madison Hedlund.
Thank you for having me.
Yay! I'm very excited to have Madison. We spent the first 40 minutes of this conversation trying to eradicate energetic disruption, technological breakdown. All of the energies are surrounding us. Each of us have saged Palo Santo, did some incense, we're creating space, and coming to you today with somebody who I consider a mentor, a leader, and a radical thought changer. And I hope it's okay to call you that. But that's what she is for me. She's my coach. I am currently in the Rising Sovereign program with her right now. She's teaching me all the things about sovereignty and reverence, which are, I consider myself kind of a wordsmith, and I never heard those words before. And you just said another word too. What was it, like aluminal?
I'm not sure.
It was the aluminal space or something like that. We're talking about
Liminal space.
Liminal.
Space.
Yes.
Yes.
All the great words, like Webster, look out. Madison, articulate and brilliant. And I consider myself as having the opportunity to have worked with some amazing coaches, and the wisdom and insight that Madison offers you is unparalleled. It has really changed my perspective. I blame her. And I say that with jest and love, empower, and poise. I blame her for beautifully opening my eyes to myself. And I've just been on this radical deconstruction and transformational growth period over the last 6 months. The rest of our program is what? Another 6 months? How many more?
We have 7 months left.
7 months left. I got goosebumps because my body is like, what the fuck is gonna happen in 7 more months? I don't know, but when I had the brain baby to host this summit, I was met with my own bevy of judgments and self-criticisms about why this was too fluffy. Now that you're listening to this or you're watching it, however you're consuming this, hopefully you've gone back and listened to the very first few summit episodes, but you're kind of used to hearing me say this, that I believe that we adopt this idea of love is it's silly and it's frou-frou and it's meant for private conversation. It's not a conversation that, we're having out in public or with strangers or asking people questions about. And I wanted to change that dynamic because love is my purpose, and I have been reintroduced to what that actually means over the past few months. And Madison has been a huge key in the doorway of opening me up back to myself, back to my sovereignty and my reverence. And I couldn't imagine not having her a part of this. So again, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. I don't know if I can even live up to that beautiful introduction that you just did. I'm like, oh my gosh, maybe we should end it there before I speak. Wow. That was so nice. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. It's all true. And I could just gush about her for hours on end. But we'll jump in because I know you're probably tired of listening to me yammering now that this point in the summit. And I'll pop in with my first question then.
Yeah,
What made you say yes to contributing to this?
What made me say yes to doing this?
Yeah.
Well, I just adore you. And I think that you are doing really impactful work in the world. And when you asked, there was no hesitation. It was just of course. Mm-hmm. So it was the most obvious choice for me to contribute and to just get to spend time with you. I love getting to spend time in your energy. Speaking of someone who's articulate and brilliant. So it was a no-brainer.
Thank you. I mean, you just love her, right? You just already are like, yes, you can follow her. So that said, what does love mean to you then?
I love that I didn't have any of these questions in advance.
Me too. Can I just say that?
Yeah, I love that. I think there's many different ways I've experienced love, but in the last year, I'm learning a lot about love, and the love I didn't receive as a child, and the love that I deserved, and the love I thought that existed and didn't believe that I was deserving of it. And what I'm coming to realize is love feels like safety and home with ourselves and then with other people. Mm-hmm. And So when you meet someone, you're like, whoa, I just feel like I could just relax here.
Mm-hmm.
Be it a lover or a friend or alone with yourself, that ability to soften and be safe with ourselves in the comfort of our own space or in the comfort of community. I think that's what love is being revealed to me as lately.
I love the symmetry and the synchronicity of your response to that, because as I just went on and on about you, that is how I feel in your energy. It does feel safe to be seen, safe to be heard, safe to be felt. It has that energy of, my brothers and I call it a mom hug. Like when I hug my mom, it makes me feel like I could cry because it feels so safe. And there are so many sensations that happen, right? Not just the physical, but the smell and the inference of what is transmuting between you. And I really feel that, and I really hold that, because what I hear in that for me too, yes, you're this permission and this like petri dish of like safety, like come in here, you can just totally fall apart, it's totally fine. But what I also hear in that for you, about you, and correct me, obviously this is conversational, is that that's the goal, right? Like not only do I feel at home inside myself, but I can discern where and where not I don't meet that same feeling, because that's what I'm after with love.
Yeah. Well, and what you're describing that you're experiencing in the context of Rising Sovereign is everyone is sovereign. So there's no, I need to fix you. There's no, I need to change you. Whenever you feel safe in your home, you're not performing for anyone. You're just being yourself. You're wearing your PJs. You're dressing up if you feel like. There's not a sense of judgment. There's just space to be you. And so I think if we think of like my room here that I'm in, I've created a little sanctuary, and it feels safe to dance and to be on the floor and to be naked and to be all the different things, because it's my sovereign space. And that, to me, that ability to have the space to be who I am is love. And then giving that space to other people of, I don't need to fix you or change you, you're just welcome here, is love. And I want to specify that that doesn't mean that we don't hold each other accountable and don't share when someone's hurt us. It's just a love that doesn't require anyone to change before the love is present.
And I love that you brought up Rising Sovereign and the word sovereignty, because these two words have become like buzzwords for me of, am I being sovereign with myself right now? Am I being sovereign with other right now too? Because it kind of takes the pressure off, in my opinion. Once I have this opinion about words, which is go and look up the meaning and understand that. And now go and look up the meaning in relationship to you. What does that mean to you? How do you apply it to you? How do you relate to it, right? Like that's how I do everything. That's how I do learning, right? Ingestion of information. And what does that actually mean to me? So I can remember it, so I can refer to it. And in this space, for those that are watching or listening, the Rising Sovereign group, again, is Madison's group that I'm participatory in. But the sovereignty there takes the pressure off for me, because it allows me to say, you are responsible for your sovereignty and I am responsible for mine. And how you show up in your sovereignty is my choice to respect that that's true for you. I don't have to fix you. I don't have to offer you any suggestions. I'm choosing to believe that in your sovereignty, you're whole and complete exactly as you are. And so am I.
Yeah.
And
what a liberation. Like, I don't have to change people.
Yeah. And as you're talking about, this is my safe space, I can be naked here, I can lay down here. I also find in our own sovereignty, it's a challenge for me too. I'm working on it for anybody listening or watching. Being naked in front of myself for the longest time was just like, anything else, please. Like, please. And in specific to certain body parts, right? And a part of love in the safe space that I love that you brought up and coming home to ourselves, that I have found really fruitful in distinguishing what love means to me, is looking at the places where I'm in lack with love. And so I'm curious for you if that is, when you say home, how you distinguish, like, this is where I'm and again, for those listening, listen in for yourself, this is where I'm not feeling at home. Presence of lack, to distinguish, what do I need here? Do I actually need anything here? Am I making myself believe that I need something here? Where am I being taken out of my love with me?
That really makes me think of, I have some family members, and it's almost holiday time, and I've informed them that I'm actually not participating in holidays this year with family because it's not a safe context for me. And I've really wrestled with that because I do believe that I can choose to be safe within myself. And I don't, I don't have to let it affect me, and I don't have to, and I can be sovereign over my experience. And if I'm trying to heal certain things in my own nervous system, in my own sovereignty, and I'll use, even though it's not a body thing for me right now, it's something else. If I have a really big issue, I'll say I used to have issues. I have really small breasts, and that really just affected me. And I went to a bikini competition, and I was just, and I would, no, didn't really happen. I'm just giving an example of, like, if I was to go to a bikini competition where everyone had really big fake breasts, and I'm trying to heal my relationship to myself and the way I view myself. Yes, I should be able to say, it doesn't matter what anyone else is doing. It doesn't matter how anyone else looks. I can love myself as I am. But in that season of healing, I might be sensitive and need to honor that I probably shouldn't go to bikini competitions with women who I would have in that season idealized as more perfect than me, because I'm healing my own gaze. And so in the context of this relationship with family, the goal is not to be disconnected from them forever. But right now, it's not a season in my healing that it's a safe context for me to go into, because it probably will set me more back in my healing journey. And so until we can be in a healthier relationship, it's not an appropriate place for me to be. And just removing judgment of, right now, I can't be my full self there. And I hope to one day be able to just be like, yes, I own this, and I'm going to navigate these conversations in a certain way. But it's not my responsibility to manage anyone else's stuff. And I am not in a season where I have the emotional capacity to. And so for me, honoring that is my sovereignty, and not saying, well, you should just be able to do it and be sovereign in yourself. Honoring what's real for me now is my sovereignty. Just like in the small breasts situation, I could walk into a room with women of all different sizes and shapes and bodies and own my body at this point in my life. But there's a season in my life that I probably wouldn't have been able to do that. And those spaces weren't the healthiest for me healing my. So I think we can do that with a number of different things, kind of like alcohol for alcoholics. Like, maybe it's not always a safe environment for the season that you're in. And so self-love looks like honoring what's true for me now, even though I know in my wholeness, I'll be acting and behaving and feeling differently.
Yes. Oh gosh, you're just so wise. You're like an oracle. I love you. And I find, as a coach and in my own, transformation and my self-discovery, which I'm continually in relationship with, this becomes the conundrum for most people. And it's the engagement and the connection, the connectivity of love. And I love that I love that you utilize the word home, because as you're talking, I'm literally thinking of a home inside my brain, and you're inside your space. Like, this is your space. How do you want it to be decorated? How do you want it to feel? You have a door between you and the outside world that you get to lock. It is your territory. It is your space. It is your right to protect it.
Yeah.
And however that looks, whoever you want to welcome in can change over time as you change, but honoring who you are in the moment, right? Like, if you think about growing up, what your home looked like when you were an adolescent, and then as you grew into your teenage years, most people I know, their home did not look the same. There was no more linoleum flooring. There was no more like shag carpeting, or even wallpaper became this taboo for such a long time, right? Because it's almost like we take ourselves out of I don't want to say like practicality, but kind of, you know, if a home is allowed to have transformation and change and growth based off of the time and the people that are in it, that are creating and painting the canvas that's within the walls, what makes it different for you then to treat yourself as if you are a home? And
Yeah.
I love this reference, because it's almost like we feel like we need to be a revolving door. Like there's a revolving door in front of us that's like everybody can come in, because that's what love needs to be, all inclusive. But all inclusive does not mean that you need to rescue people. You need to modify their experience of you. It is your responsibility to protect yourself and protect your home and protect your space.
Yeah. It reminds me, in my context, I, have a Christian background context. So my stories of myth often come from the Bible or Jesus. And I think of what Jesus did, and people think that he was just all welcoming and all love, and he was pure love.
Mm-hmm.
And he was often like, actually, no, you're not coming with me, or I'm going to go do this alone. And he was very boundaried as far as what he needed to do to be in love, to be living as love. And he didn't bullshit, and he spoke the truth, and he actually spoke in parables so that people who were ready to hear would inquire. And so I think about how, and also, 100 years ago, even, we didn't have reaches of 1,000, 10,000, 1 million people at our disposal. And how that the human brain has not evolved for that. And so what we need to do to be mindful of the animal of our physical body and the way that we're taking in and relating with people, because if I connect with 800 people on Instagram every day, which sometimes, like the scrolling and the commenting back, we're literally not made to have that kind of energetic capacity and relational capacity. So like, what do we need to do so that the people in our real life actually get the best of us? And so that's something that I've really been thinking about lately, is like, what does love mean as far as like being healthfully detached from my work, so I can put out what is created from love within my own heart, but then let people be sovereign in however they respond to it. Because I literally cannot manage thousands of people's experience of me. It's just way too much for me to do.
Yes. And this leads into the next question, which I feel like you're answering just organically and naturally, which is, what does love mean to you about other people? But, in my experience of you and just being in your presence is, again, all leading back to, it's our responsibility to decide what kind of connection we want to have with people. And doesn't necessarily equate to, again, what we've been conditioned to believe is quantity over quality. And, for those that are listening, whatever you relate to religiously, spiritually, but from a spiritual sense, we're inclined to believe that love is the only truth. And if we're all in our truth and we're all of love, then I don't know, you can say what you think, but for me, it's like, there really isn't much room to take offense to somebody saying, you're not my person, right? There's the room to being like, I'm glad that you distinguished that, before I infiltrated your space and it made you feel icky and shitty, because I wouldn't want that. Instead of taking it back on you and being like, oh, well, then I must suck.
Yeah. So, oh my goodness, I'm so excited about this question, because I want to put a pin in one thing and circle back to it. I like to operate from, and I'm actually like really working at this, because I've noticed my natural response to people requesting more of me than I can give, or being what I'm like, they're ridiculous, they're too much, is I have been violated a lot in my life. And because I haven't had access to the clean anger that comes from when you're violated, you're like, hey, fuck off,
Yeah.
So because I didn't have access to that, because I had suppressed so much emotion, I'm noticing how often I felt like other people were infringing upon me. And I was always just like, how dare they DM me this question, as I'm building a platform and asking people to direct message me. And so I was in conflict with my own relationship to my business, to my work, to clients, to friends, to family, always feeling violated, and therefore assuming that people are trying to violate me.
Mm.
And I knew that people are just seeking relief. Like, I knew that cognitively, like, people are just trying to get their needs met. People are just seeking relief. People are just doing the best they can. But I didn't have access to understanding that because I hadn't felt how I had actually been violated in my past. So this year, I have actually been allowing myself to feel violated whenever I am. And really attuning to, like, I feel angry. And then whenever I get through the anger, I'm like, I'm realizing, whoa, this person is really struggling and needs to be mirrored. And they think their baby self inside of them is trying to make me their mother.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, I can't be their mother. But now that I see that, I can support them in a different way than just like, how dare they ask this of me, especially, you know, facilitating group work, not just Rising Sovereign, but Awaken Her Soul, where it's a lot more people doing a different kind of work. The more, like, I don't want to say it's beginner work, because it's certainly not beginner work, but it's just not as one-on-one as Rising Sovereign. And some of the requests I get and some of the feedback that people are bringing in the past has been like, I can't believe they would even ask that. But as I'm realizing that I have had issues around in the past where I haven't fully felt true violation, I was interpreting other people seeking to get their needs met as them pushing my boundaries, when really people are in general not trying to push our boundaries. They're just trying to meet their needs and asking a question, and they're anxious and nervous and seeking approval. And our relationship to ourselves and our own clean anger and how whatever's going on with us helps us interact with them differently. So since I've been processing all of that, which is interesting, allowing myself to feel violated and anger has actually given me more capacity for love. Because if I'm suppressing how often I feel violated, then I'm going to interpret everything as a violation instead of just being like, wow, these people are just seeking to get their needs met and it has nothing to do with me. And actually that's a really normal response to what they're going through. And not as a way to like pity people, but to actually see them instead of seeing them through my own unconscious bias of I'm constantly violated. Everyone wants something from me. So that's been my path, because I'm like, I know that everyone's doing their best, but I don't really feel like it. So
it's so good to know that we operate in the same vein on this, because I believe in so much in doing unconscious work with ourselves, and that it's really truly eye-opening and soul-opening. And when I got into the Rising Sovereign Mastermind, and I was coming from a place of very similar to what you're talking about, like I feel like everybody wants something from me, and there's a million DMs, and it's almost like it's not enough. And, you know, if I don't respond, then it's this. And coming into Rising Sovereign, Madison was like, here's the deal. I'm going to hold you as someone that can specify your needs. So if you don't know what your needs are, then I welcome you to start figuring them out. And I was like, the fuck is that? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I am here to get the, you know, wring the rag out, get all of you type of thing. And going into the very first, I guess, video conferencing mechanism that we use for the program, and she just really broke down her perspective of why she's doing that. Not for us, for her. And I was like, the fuck? Like, what are we here for? And then just listening to her go through her own reverence and her own sovereignty about what you're going to get from her and what you're, you know, going to get from yourself in this space by allowing her to operate this way for herself, showed to me exactly what she's saying. Like, fuck, like, I have been violated in my own life, and the thing that actually makes me angry about other people is the shit that I allow.
Exactly.
And allowing ourselves to be conscious about love, which is what I think we're doing here, and those of you watching and listening are doing right now, even if you're not sure about why you came here, there's something about the word love. I invite you to look at consciously what it is that you need. But that's exactly what I found too, that it meant for me about other people, that I was in lack with myself. Not that they actually needed to do anything, that I needed to do the work. So, and that leads us into our next question, which again, I feel like you're just getting there before actually getting there, which is just the beautiful intuitive nature of Madison. I really truly believe it is, how does love influence what you do in your business?
Well, I didn't know this clearly when I began my business, but I was desperately looking for answers for why my childhood was the way it was.
Mm.
So I sought religion first. That was kind of like the first, like I understood a divine love. And it was really the only place that I, like with divine love, that I felt love. So that was like a pulling for me. And I would say that my work is also in some way ministry work, because that was my first opening to love, that safety, that unconditional love. And although my experience with religion got more and more dogmatic as I like got older, because of being involved in different groups, the core of it was always like I believed in unconditional God love. And so that was the first opening. And then when I went to college, I went to college for sex therapy. And yeah, so that was my initial thing I wanted to do. I was like, okay, I'm gonna, help people with all these issues. And so unconscious, didn't realize that I was looking again for answers of like, why is it this way? And, why did these things happen in my childhood? And why were these things okay in this context and not in this context? And so really the questions of why do we work the way that we work?
Mm-hmm.
And why do I feel so unworthy whenever I know if who I am is the love of God? Why don't I feel that? And why doesn't religion align with that? And why am I not seeing that in psychology? So through the journey of eventually starting my business, I now see that a lot of my work has been trying to heal my relationship with my mother. And so it's really interesting, like kind of looking back and being like, whoa, I've been on this epic journey to basically reparent myself, but also to parent my mother, which I think is, if you think about a child's need to be mirrored love, that is where the divine love of like, I know this love exists. Why didn't I get it? Why am I not seeing it mirrored? So in a way, the lack of love in my experience, and not to say my mom didn't love me, she very much did, but she suffered a lot of mental health issues, which doesn't allow someone to mirror love in a way that like is supportive for growing into a healthy self. Mm-hmm. So because my mother is a very loving person, I didn't have that relationship with her. So in a way, the lack of love made me know that something was missing. And I was looking for, what is that thing? And whenever I discovered that like it's within, I was like, if it's within, why do I have all these limiting beliefs? And so it took me on a very long journey, which I don't really have time to describe in this context, but essentially, it was very upsetting for me to realize that people can live their entire lives without knowing that they have access to this, without knowing that who they are is love, and looking for it, like striving. Like I think of the myth of the ugly duckling, just going like, "Are you my mother? Are you my mother? Are you my mother?" And like this, like, what are we searching for? Mm-hmm. And I mean, whether it's mother or father or whatever, like there's something that we're not getting and we're looking for it. And you see people doing it in perfectionism, looking for it in business, through all of these different means, but it is love is what we're looking for. And what does it feel like to be safe? What does it feel like to be home? What does it feel like to be in community? So and to be who we really are, which is love. So I can't say that I'm always working from the most loving place, if that makes sense, because I'm a person, and sometimes I'm just doing my human thing, just showing up as I do.
Yeah.
But I think the undercurrent of all of it is, what would it be like if people realized who they really are? And if who they really are is love, then what do we need to get through that we've been like taught through culture and through trauma, or even just through like dysfunctional family shit that we all have, mm-hmm. about love and about relating and about ourselves. And if we can heal that and strip it away, what we'll get to is the truth, which is love. So I think for me, it came from a deep knowing as a child, something is missing. And I believe that something exists, and I'm not going to stop until I find it. Mm-hmm. And I feel like now that I've realized what it is, it's a constant remembering. It's, I don't always remember, but it's how can I get as much shit out of the way in my life so that I remember and then I can help others remember as often as possible.
Wow. That is so powerful, because I believe, we're animals. It's in genetics, we're just animals. And so I believe that as humans, we get, tripped up on the mentality and the real true baser instinct of, I need community. I need people in my life. And I love that you brought up the, ugly duckling, are you my mother example, because that's what we're all doing, right? Do you want to be my friend? Do you want to be my friend?
Like, love me.
Right. And so how beautiful that you found the vacancy within and said, I'm going to fill this up and I'm going to find out how to do it, because I don't know why I know something's missing, but it's energetic, it's palpable, it's molecular. I know something's missing. And I think it all ties in beautifully of, love is home, and that home begins within ourselves. And the more ready we are, and this is at every evolution of ourselves, because we continue to grow, continue to walk into the bathroom and look in the mirror and like, who the fuck are you now? Right? You're like, oh my God.
All the time.
Yes. And it's continuing to rebuild that home within ourselves so that we can walk out into the world and also satiate that need that I hear you talking about in your business, is to go out into the world and to be a part of a community, and then to create this trickle down effect so other people in the world can know that it's safe to build a home within, so they can honor that instinct to have community elsewhere too.
Yeah. It's like all of us who realize this can just keep going out and just be like, remember. And sometimes it's that easy, and sometimes we need to be mirrored again and again and again and again. My friend Hillary McBride said to me once in a conversation, and I think it's actually a conversation that I recorded for Awaken Her Soul, my other program, that whenever we aren't mirrored, like basically like whenever we're born, our primary attachment figure is our mirror of self. So when we're born, we literally believe that we are our mothers. There's no differentiation, like we are so connected to her. And whoever becomes the primary caregiver, whether it's, a mother, a father, a relative, a grandmother, whoever, we attach ourselves to them in that age as infants, and they become, as we grow, a mirror for self. And if that mirror is broken, traumatized, like postpartum depression, the amount of things that can happen in those seasons, it's very hard to be a mother. So I hear, especially, the ways that patriarchy has set mothers up to not have a lot of support. So the attachment that we have with our mothers helps us see ourselves, or I should say that primary caregiver helps us see ourselves. And if that mirror, and that immediate mirror of our family and community, is broken or can't see themselves clearly, we're growing up with mirrors where we're only getting little, it's like, can I see myself? I almost see myself. It's kind of distorted, or it's shattered in this spot. I'm not seeing it clearly. And I think that for me has been mentorship and coaches, because they have been able to provide for me until I've been able to find community, because often we don't know what it feels like until we feel it. And then we're like, whoa, this is what it feels to be seen clearly. I didn't know. And so we're through clear mirrors, whether it's a therapist or a coach or a mentor, and then hopefully through understanding what that feels like, we can start building relatives, new chosen family. We can start rebuilding those relationships, because we're actually witnessing ourselves clearly for the first time. And there are, go ahead.
I was going to ask you, can you repeat the name of that person that reflected? I had never heard anything like this before. And when you said that, I was like, well, shit. Like, I feel like a lot of women listening to this, anybody really listening to this that had that relationship with mother, right? Growing up, where you're talking about being like the primary, that your go-to, your solace, your reflection of self. Listening to that is probably going to have a holy fuck moment, because you said it, I was like, no shit. Like, that is so palpable the truth.
Yeah.
It's so palpable in that. So who is that? If you could just repeat
Her
that.
name is Dr. Hillary McBride. She's actually co-hosting the Hawaii retreat with me that I'm doing in January. She's one of the co-facilitators, and she's a guest teacher in my program, Awaken Her Soul. But she's a host of the Liturgist podcast, and if you just Google Dr. Hillary McBride, you'll find her information. But she does a lot of work around trauma and helping us see ourselves clearly, and body image work. So that's kind of her expertise, is embodiment, body image, and also just being an amazing resource for what happens in the brain through trauma and what healing looks like, and how we have to heal in relationship. And that's the big trick of self-help, is that we can do it in isolation and just cut everyone out who's toxic. And yes, and like, you know, I'm not going to go see family this year for the holidays. And I have set some very strong boundaries, and I've done that. And the only reason why I can do that right now is because I'm in relationship with people who are my chosen family. And so even though I'm in a season of grief around what kind of relationship I can have with my biological family, I'm healing those relationships through mentorship and coaching and therapists. And I mean, I don't have all those people right now, but through the relationships I've built, I'm able to do that in a context of safety and reparent my inner child, so that I can heal those wounds and then re-enter the relationship as a non-fragmented person. Because if we think about fragmentation, it's disowning pieces of ourselves. And not because we can't see ourselves clearly. I literally see it like looking in a shattered mirror where there are pieces missing, and we have to just put it back together and see ourselves clearly. And all this to say, all of those coaches, we need people to mirror us in our healing and also in our growth. But the beauty is, and from what I've seen, is I am now able to start creating relationships in my life with people who are clear mirrors, because I'm not afraid of connecting anymore, because I'm healing those relational wounds. So another great, if any of this is relating, because it's what I've been really working on this year, is my mother wound, is Bethany Webster.
Are we good on time? I just want to be mindful of your time.
Oh, I have no idea. Yeah, we're fine.
Okay. Be sure. Okay.
Yeah. So Bethany Webster is another, she actually teaches on the mother wound. So if anything, I mean, it's not all, you know, the mother wound isn't everything that we've ever gone through, but the more I learn about primary attachment figure and seeing ourselves clearly, especially as those of us who are socialized as women, very, very important. And the way Bethany Webster describes the mother wound is it's actually the wound of patriarchy that's passed down through women. So it's not the mother's like fault. It's not that the mothers are doing a bad job. It's that we as women are carrying wounds of generations.
Yes.
And until we heal that from our lineage, we're going to keep operating in these ways that we can't be free. So I'm very passionate about this.
I could listen to Madison talk for 80 million hours. And
oh no.
I just really could, because you said so many, like, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. So I hope you hear that and heed that, because I find that when I'm listening to someone that I don't connect to, I am not present. So it's super, I hear within what you're saying, like, how does love influence what I do as a business owner? It's because I needed to become present with myself, and I want other people to distinguish, where are you not present? And one of the things I heard you say too about, you know, your familial Christmas holiday, whatever decisions that you've made to be and not there and with other, right? Someplace else, is another thing that I feel we get tripped up on with love is, you know, we are who we are in our evolution. And sometimes the people that surround us are not always ready to respond to who we are now. They are still perceiving us as who we have always been in their brain. And then to go back to what you're talking about with relationship to other is, we don't have to honor who they see us as. It's our responsibility to honor who we actually are. And I admire you and I honor you in that decision, because sometimes we have to say to ourselves, I can't be this for you anymore. I love you, but I need to take a step back. And something else that you said that lays beautifully alongside of that is, when you mentioned that, you know, I have therapists and coaches and mentors and healers, and I don't have them all right now, but I know I can pull from this circle that I've created when I need it. And I also feel when people go through this self-discovery, there's this misnomer of like, you're instantaneously going to feel amazing. Amazing. And I caution people, and I say it flat, look, there's going to be elements of this that are going to feel like straight up dog shit. Like it is not going to feel good, but it's one of the ways that you can develop, you know, a security home system for your house that you're in is to pick your neighbors. Who's your coach?
Yeah.
Who's your therapist? Who's your spiritual healer? Who's your energy healer? Who's your mastermind person? Who's your best friend? And we get this opportunity that I see also in your business too, like who you are as a business owner is, and I just said this to Madison before we started recording, was she owns her support team in such a way that pieces and parts of my support team that I'm not ready to talk about yet, that she had reflected to me in such a beautiful place of ownership of, well, I don't have to advertise it to the world. I can go see what I think about it first. And she reflects this in her business. So we, again, can be at choice and in our sovereignty. And putting that all together, you said two things that I'm like, yes, 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 is Maya Angelou says, people will never remember what you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that is what I see interwoven for your business as well. You know, Madison doesn't show up for me, in my own opinion, in my share, if I may be so bold, as someone who's like, I'm going to worry about saying all the right fucking things and having the correct PowerPoint and, you know, having all the technology the right way. It is, everything's allowed because you want to remember how you feel in this case.
And that's I've come a long way with that, because I am certainly a type A recovering perfectionist and have been so stressed about things looking, appearing a certain way online and in my business. And in particular with Rising Sovereign, like the mastermind that you're a part of, I've let that go more than in any other area, because in Rising Sovereign, it's really not about the way that I'm teaching. It's about to me, Rising Sovereign is more about vibration and the energetic container of it, which is a lot different than a teaching space, because Rising Sovereign is this like hybrid of energy, teaching, community. It's a lot different than anything I've ever created. And so you're getting the most loose version of me as far as my perfectionism goes.
Good shit. I mean, everybody watching and listening, go to her website. We'll get to that in a second, because it's the best. It is the best. It is the best mastermind I've ever been in. I have no problem saying that. I've gone through evolution. You know, what happened before this, you can infer your own meaning. But in this moment, this present moment, it is so liberating and so freeing. And you said something just a few moments ago in repetition that, again, just brings this all together in a intentionally unintentional, beautiful box with a beautiful bow on it. You said, for you, it was all about going into this all the way back to when you went to college to study sex therapy, of remember. And I just want to clarify for anybody that's watching or listening that it's not something in particular that you're remembering. It's a noticing, a self that you're remembering. And it reminded me of Mufasa in The Lion King, when he says,
remember.
Yeah. And I was just like, that's so true, because I love me some Disney. I love me The Lion King. Nothing makes me cry like Mufasa. Everything.
Oh my gosh. Remember who you are.
Yes. I have fucking goosebumps all over right now, because that is it. Like, if we could put a pin in for me, the entirety of this conversation is Madison is just all about the remembering and inviting you to remember and inviting you to be fiercely poised and powerful about protecting it. And so I'm just so grateful that you were able to be a part of this and to share your genius. And for everybody that is literally agape, like right now, their ears are buzzing, their brain is like, holy fuck, I need to go back and re-listen. That was just so many sound bites and edits of fruitfulness and truth. What do you have going on? Where can people find you?
Yes. So right now, I'm actually not taking any new clients until 2020. So if anyone is curious about Rising Sovereign or one-on-one coaching or my program, Awaken Her Soul, you can jump on waitlist on my website. So I have plenty of free things there. I have like a free boundaries e-course. I have a free meditation and journal guide. So if you go to my website, you can basically just get on a waitlist, get the free stuff to just kind of get yourself going with it, and be notified, because I'm spending just hopefully the rest of the winter writing. It's been a really intense year of changes, and I thought I was going to start writing a book, and then I changed my whole life. So, I am just like diving in with that and have created some space for that. So I'll be sharing tidbits of that on Instagram, which is Madison Hedlund, just my name. But if any of this interests you, please reach out. I do have some associate coaches that are working with me. If you're like, I want someone that you trust, I have some people like that. But Rising Sovereign will probably launch again in April or May, and Awaken Her Soul opens the doors in March. So if anyone's thinking like timelines, those are whenever my programs open up again.
And what about, I know the last time I checked, you had two spots available for your Hawaii trip. Are there still spots available or no?
Still two. Yeah.
Okay.
As far, I haven't checked my email yet today, but as of this moment that I know of, two. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
This was so much fun. Thank you for having me. I feel like we could just go and go and go and keep going.
Me too. I love you. I adore you. There are so many moments when Madison talks, I just want to be like,
it's because you're remembering.
Remember. I hope that I get a bunch of like DMs or messages of like, okay, so the Remember episode is just in my brain right now. But
yes.
Again, thank you. I love you. You are a light, and personally, you are a light, but just in the universe, in the world, you are a light. And I'm just so honored that you were able to do this. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. And a big thank you to you, the audience, of course, for joining us. See the show notes for a special freebie from me if you're tuning in on YouTube, and for Madison's links on how to connect with her. I'm also going to add in Dr. Hillary McBride and Bethany Webster's information as well. Those were references that we captured in today's episode. And because love is meant to be shared and sharing is caring, if you love this episode, please share it with a friend. However you were brought to this episode, if it's YouTube, if you're listening audibly, whatever format you prefer, please do it if you found any piece or part of this that was meaningful or impactful for you, or use the links provided below to message us and ask us your questions, and we will certainly get back to you. Thank you for stopping by and being here with us. Spread love everywhere that you can today and always. And of course, utmost and most important, be good to yourself for fuck's sake. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.